As the legendary band Aerosmith said, it's the same old song and dance, my friends. That and more coming up on the postgame show right now. Welcome into another disappointing Sunday edition of the Setup Man postgame show, part of the Setup Man Network. My name is Alex Brawl, along with Ty Lewin, back again with me, enjoying this, what was a boring Sunday game. If you haven't already, make sure to hit up that comment section. I'm sure y'all got opinions. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that little bell so anytime you need to know what we're up to, don't worry. That little bell will let you know. And if you want to participate, and I'm sure a lot of you do, you will have your opportunity. Segment 3 will be taking your calls in our segment, Thoughts in 30. Just like old school sports talk radio, you will get 30 seconds to plead your case, comment, ask your question, whatever the case may be, and you will be added to the backstage. We will drop that link after the second segment, so make sure we will announce it as well, but make sure to look out for that. All right, Ty, another disappointing Sunday, kind of a disappointing series. Cubs were rolling this week. They beat the Dodgers. You're feeling good. Friday, Colin Ray looks awesome. And then the last two games happen. And we're going to go into depth on yesterday's game in a little bit. Segment B, folks, buckle up. The B in segment B today stands for Ben Brown. So don't worry, we're going to talk about yesterday. But as for today, do you have any major takeaways? This weekend just felt like a blur.
It really did. Friday was sort of the what I felt like this team was going to sort of do for the rest of the series was really control this offense, which they did not, obviously in games 2 and ultimately in game 3, of course, in the top of the 10th. But realistically, this series just had a little bit of a dull flavor to it over the feel to it, I would say, on Saturday, and then of course today. And look, today was one of those where it's kind of funny how the series went, right? Friday, the Cubs absolutely dominate. Saturday, the Phillies dominate. And then Sunday, you have this rubber match. And it comes down to, unfortunately, who can throw strikes and who unfortunately doesn't walk the ballpark, which Merriweather did, and ultimately led to a Cubs series loss. And it's been a great start to the season for the Cubs. Unfortunately, they were destined to have a series loss, and especially a loss like this, I would say, that stings a little bit. And it just goes to show that, they've played some very, very tough teams to start the year. And hopefully, things will change here moving forward.
So, and funny you mentioned that. So the schedule so far, even with this tough schedule, there's series records. So we're not talking overall record. So number of series won versus number of series lost, even including this series against Phillies, they're 7-3-1. They split the Arizona series. Otherwise, they're 7-3 record-wise, series-wise. That's really good, guys. And actually, Ty, up more of a big picture question that I wanted to ask you in this first segment. Do you think, now that we're pretty much out of the quote-unquote toughness, now we got starting Tuesday, it's Pittsburgh, and then this weekend, Milwaukee. So it's not like it lightens up by any means. But do you think that the tough schedule in April has kind of been a blessing in disguise? We're like, oh, boy, if we could just get through it. But it kind of feels like, because every game, and they've mentioned on the broadcast, every game feels like October. Do you think that this jump-started the team so that they have gotten off to such a great start? Because they're playing top-level competition.
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer because there is the side of me that worries that this team might regress a little bit, and it's not the best time to regress. The lucky part is that they don't necessarily face the schedule that they face in the month of April. Now, needless to say, they could match up against Paul Skeens, next week on a day, and that unfortunately may lead to a loss. And you're dealing with this moving forward, so you're going to deal with some certain unique situations here over the next couple of weeks. I would say though that you are given the schedule that you're given. And what the Cubs have done is that they've taken advantage of the fact that pitching is not necessarily going to be at its peak or standard for all these MLB squads until, July, August, I would say. And towards the end of the year, a lot of guys are still trying to find their stuff, and they've taken advantage of that. And realistically, so like they've taken advantage of the fact that they're in this situation right now, and now they go into the second month here. I just really hope that the regression isn't significant at all. And I was talking to setup man Kyle Stanley about this the other day, where luckily right now, when the games that they've won against tough pitching and of course a tough offense. Now what they're going to face is teams that may have some tough pitching but low level offense from an offensive standpoint later in the month, I would say. But that is where hopefully one of the offense or pitching can just step up in those situations and take advantage of that opportunity of this lighter schedule.
Yeah, and funny you mentioned regression. So this Phillies series, they scored 4 on Friday. They won. They scored 4 yesterday, got clobbered. Then they only scored 1 today. And Kyle texted us during the game, and I pushed back a little bit. He was making the argument that the approach hasn't been great. They're not walking. They're not working deep counts. Everything's been pretty quick. And I noticed that with Ian Happ, but everyone else, I'm like, well, Aaron Nola was sensational tonight. He went seven innings full, gave up only 3 hits, only 1 earned run. And that 1 earned run, the wind again, folks, it played weird because Vidal Brujan hit 2 balls over 100 miles an hour that didn't sniff the warning track. At the end of the game, Dansby Swanson hits one off the cap of his bat, and it almost landed on the warning track. It was just another kind of weird weather game. Both offenses were pretty much shut down. I will say that was the shining light for the Cubs. Jamison Tyone tonight was fantastic. 7 innings, 2 Ks, 1 earned run, no walks. They were hanging. They were going punch for punch. It's just, yeah, maybe there is some regression because no one in an MLB season has scored 7 runs a game. So I'm just interested because now we get into, and I got the schedule pulled up right here. It's Pittsburgh for 3, Milwaukee, San Francisco's not going to be easy. Then they got the Mets, then the Marlins, White Sox, Marlins, and Cincinnati. But Cincinnati's won 4 in a row too. So it's one of those things. And to tell you the truth, we have such a big conversation in the next segment. Is there anything else you want to quick say on the Phillies series as a whole?
Yeah. I actually did want to touch on the pitching matchup from tonight. I may not necessarily be something that's pivotal in our conversation here today, but I do want to say that I thought Aaron Nola was absolutely tremendous tonight, and I hate bringing up an opposing pitcher and complimenting him as much as I will, but like the fact that the Cubs offense has been as good as it has, and he was just the guy did not miss a pitch, I felt like, for all 7 innings that he was out there. And so hats off to him. But then that also leads to my point of hats off to Jamison Tyone, who has Absolutely. Had a really, really, really solid start to the year thus far, that we were very, he was on the fence of if this team is to take that next step forward, he's one of the players on this team right now that has to take a step forward, and he's becoming a really reliable arm for us. So at the end of the day, folks, in baseball, when you have 2 matchups like this, it's going to come down to the bullpens. And unfortunately, Merriweather just didn't have it tonight. The multiple walks in the 10th just didn't necessarily put us in the best position. And you know what? I'm just going to swallow this one and just move on. And we're just going to, look to next week. But yeah, let's get to the other points that you have here.
Yeah. So there needs to be a big picture conversation at this point. And that is, what are we doing with Ben Brown? Actually, you know what? Before I even get to that, there was some news from the Cubs world today. Tom Cosgrove, left-handed reliever that they acquired from the San Diego Padres, has been called up. He is with the big league club now. Did not pitch tonight. Ethan Roberts has been optioned down to AAA. Cosgrove, career-wise, he's 1-3, 3.95 ERA. He's only 28 years old, 66 innings pitched in the big leagues. We'll see. It's another flyer. And we went from saying this team has no left-handed relievers to now they have 3 in Pomerantz, Thielbar, who, again, shout out to Thielbar. He looked awesome again tonight against Harper. Harper had no shot. It was kind of wild. But that's the only news. Let's get to the big picture conversation. Ben Brown. So he got rocked. He looked really good for 3 innings yesterday and then gets rocked. So on the season, he's now 2-2 with a 6.04 ERA in 25 and a third innings pitch, 31 Ks, 14 walks, and he's got a 1.895 WHIP. And for those that don't know, WHIP is walks or hits, or walks and hits per inning pitched. So basically, he's giving up almost 2 base runners an inning, which is kind of insane. And look, you and I talked off air, but I think it's fair to ask the manager, well, what's going on with Ben Brown? Why could he potentially be struggling?
We can't just make up a third pitch. We can't just say, hey, Ben, here's a third pitch. Throw it. That's not – I'd love it for it to work that way, but, it's not – we're not there yet. He's got 2 really good pitches. He threw 6 shutout innings against the Dodgers, so he's capable of succeeding in this league. And you saw last year what he's capable of doing. So, we got to keep working on it, and it's a young starter, and he's going to learn from every time he goes out and get better from it.
So that is courtesy of Marquee Sports Network. Ty, you had brought this up too, which I thought was an interesting point. So I'll just ask you flat out, do you also agree with counsel that, yeah, maybe he, with his only 2 pitches, we've seen Justin Steele succeed, but maybe Ben Brown just isn't at that level at the moment?
He is not, and it's way too inconsistent. This is not necessarily he's I said this to you earlier, Alex. He is pitching like he is a 5th starter. And at certain points, he can pitch like he's a number 3 on the edge of being a number 2. And the number 2 is a critical thing here because counsel alluded to where you talk about a 2-pitch mix. So he's got this knuckle curve and this fastball, right? So he technically has a third pitch. It's actually a changeup. He's actually thrown it as many times this year or very close to as he did last year. So that's a little interesting to watch. But 2 things to note here for that. So 1, his fastball velo is down 1 tick. That's something that a lot of people are looking at these days. That might be something to monitor. But number 2 is that with 2 pitches, it's obvious, right, in a conversation of like, well, obviously if he doesn't have 1 pitch, he's screwed. The problem is that he's not working the edges at all with his fastball. His knuckle curve, he cannot throw for a strike on the outside edge. So ultimately, it's either a knuckle curve in the zone or a knuckle curve in the dirt. And so like on Saturday, for example, when he was facing those lefties, right, the first time he went through them, he absolutely dusted them. There was they weren't even competitive at bats by some of those guys from that really fantastic lineup over there in Philly. The second time through, all they were looking for was either if that hanger stayed up a little bit high or looking for the fastball because anything in the dirt they weren't going after. So now you have to be able to control the edges with these 2 pitches. And unfortunately, when he does not do that, that's where we have these erratic starts. So these days, we're either getting Ben Brown, who can actually do what he did like against the Dodgers, where he went 6 innings, no earned, or we're going to get the Ben Brown, which we saw on Saturday, which is, I can control my stuff for a few innings, but once I lose it, I don't have other pitches to go back to, and he's not a veteran in this game that can really sort of reset in middle of the game and be mature enough to make that adjustment and make that correction right then and there. Be interested to hear your points, Alex.
So for me, I think we need to have a conversation about maybe he just needs to be in the bullpen. Because if you look at his game logs, and I got him up courtesy of Baseball Reference right now. He went his first start against the A's, 5 innings, gave up 3 runs. Okay, not bad. San Diego, 4 innings, 5 earned. Okay. Dodgers, electric against the Dodgers. And it's the Dodgers, people. Like, they got Hall of Famers 1 through 4. They're loaded. 6 innings, no runs, only gave up 5 hits, struck out 5. Was awesome. You look at his last 2 game logs. 4 innings against the Diamondbacks. Couldn't find a strike zone with a GPS. Really labored for those 4 innings. Only gave up 1 run, But 4 walks, he was all over the place. And then yesterday, he only goes 3 2/3, gave up 6 earned, walked 1, struck out 5. Like, for me, his stuff at this moment in time, I'm not saying he can't eventually, because we've seen it. But at this point in time, I think maybe it's time to put him in the bullpen. And I know you and I actually had this conversation last Tuesday. Well, that screws with his routine, and I get that.
Yeah.
But your rotation is only as strong as your weakest link. Right now, I don't have a whole lot of confidence that he's going to give us a deep outing, which puts pressure on your bullpen. And he's, as you said, way too inconsistent. And it's a young pitcher as well. So I know you want to be careful there, but he's also coming off injury. That might explain the dip in velocity that you mentioned. I just think at this point, we need to have a real conversation about what his short-term role needs to be with this team. And I'm not saying he can't find it eventually, because they're going to need him, folks. Whether he's pitching well or not, they need him, especially without Assad now for the foreseeable future, without Steele for the rest of the year. You are going to need somebody. And we're going to talk about options here in a second. They do have some options down in AAA. But short term, with the way this front office is operating, they've been super aggressive in making moves and making changes. Ty, short term, what do you do?
So here's the one thing that I wouldn't do, which is move him away from the bullpen until he has one more start. And the reason being, in my opinion, is that you are facing the Pirates and the Brewers divisional opponents. And I think that if you move a guy into a situation like a Flexen, his first start beating against the Brewers, I am a little concerned there. You just don't know what you're going to get. This is where I struggle with this argument, if I'm being honest with you, brother, is because if Ben Brown goes out there again and struggles, he's going to struggle against a divisional opponent, or you have a guy go out there who, has had major league experience in Flexen, but you're in a situation where who knows, what you're going to get from him. And you're in that situation where now you're facing a divisional opponent. So if I'm the Cubs, I'm giving Brown one more chance. And I think with him being a young pitcher, we need to see if this can be a moment that because he got called out. He really got called out there by counsel, and you could tell in his in Brown's post-game interview on what was that, Saturday, yesterday, was he looked defeated, but he looked like, hey, I'm owning this. I need to figure this out. So that's my argument. I would say let's give him one more start. Let's see how he does. But I do not feel confident in that take at all, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, and so I wanted to make sure that that the math was correct. So yes, he would be scheduled if everything stays the same. They are off tomorrow, but then they are on the rest of the week. So he would be scheduled, if my math is right, Friday against Milwaukee. So to open that series.
Yeah, in Milwaukee.
And where he's had success. He was dominant last year there. It's tough because let's talk about Chris Flexen. I know I've said his name way more than I care to this season, but in Iowa, he's got 5 games started. He's 3-0 with a 1.16 ERA, 32 1/3 innings pitch, 8 walks, 28 strikeouts. He's overqualified at this point to be at AAA. But it's a matter of, what you're going to get from Flexen. It's probably going to be similar to, on a good day, Javier Assad's typical output, which is like 5 innings, 3 earned, something to that effect. But the other option you have potentially would be Cade Horton. I don't know that you bring him up now. It seems really early to push that button. That almost feels like a panic move. But those are really your only 2 options at this point. So it's
infuriating. It's infuriating because you don't really know what to do here, because here's my one, I would say for sure, argument about Brown for starting him next Friday in that series is that you make really the final decision there. And that sort of, squishes everything. This is the next step we're taking. We're moving him to the pen for the time being, right? Versus if you move him to the pen and Flexen doesn't work out, you know what I mean? So it's tough, man. It's a really, really hard conversation because you're talking about a guy that a lot of people saw as possibly being the breakout arm really in this rotation this year. And unfortunately, we are finding that a guy with 2 pitches doesn't necessarily find a lot of success, right? Like if you're looking across baseball right now, Justin Steele, Kevin Gausman, who else really is a successful 2-pitch pitcher?
That's about all I can name off the top of my head.
And so he's super young and he's figuring it out. And it's just really hard, man. It's just a really, really difficult decision to make for a guy that has so much upside. But if I'm gut punch, if I have to make my argument, I'm saying give him the chance on Friday.
And I'm for that. I'm just asking the question because at this point in the season, with Assad now, that I said August on speculating on Friday, maybe, but you can't rely on him now, at least as a starter. But say that Steele stays healthy. Say that Assad stays healthy. Would he be in the rotation at the moment? Probably not. And honestly, the bullpen, while it's been better, I mean, we saw it today. Merriweather kind of fell apart. And not necessarily his fault, but, well, actually, it is his fault. Who else can you blame? You're throwing the ball. But it's frustrating because, A, plan B and C, let's say Cade Horton's plan C. I don't think he's ready yet. As good as he's looked, I wouldn't push that envelope quite yet. And Flexen, it's like, okay, it's Chris Flexen. We're not talking about prime Johan Santana here. We're talking about Chris Flexen. So, I mean, does that bring up a point of, hey, front office, what are you doing? I don't really want to have another front office conversation, but they've been super aggressive. Kyle and I showed the graphic, and actually, I think I still have it up here somewhere, if I can find it. Yeah. So, I mean, they've done all of this, right? And they just called up Cosgrove and shipped Ethan Roberts back to Iowa. That's not even on this graphic. It's an important conversation, and I think we at least need to have it. By both of our reactions, we're both like, well, what the hell do you do? Because there aren't any good options.
So, the thing is that you're still looking at a higher ceiling with Ben Brown, obviously, over a guy like Chris Flexen, right? So we can all agree upon that.
Yep.
But the issue you have is just the divisional opponents, and it's, here's my thinking. I mean, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I mean, do you set a limit on Ben Brown and make it more of a bullpen game, but have him at least start and be like, hey, Ben, we're going to give you 3 innings. This is all you're going to have, and we need to make sure that we have an additional arm available. Maybe that's when you bring up Chris Flexen. I'm just saying is like you bring up another guy or Jordan Wicks or just somebody. I'm just throwing names out there, not necessarily saying like this is the perfect combo against this team. But would you do something like that, Alex? Would you go as, hey, 3-pitch max or 3-pitch inning max for him?
That's the best idea I've heard. Yesterday, great through 3 innings. Cool. After that, if you can bring in a change of pace like Flexen or Wicks or whoever, all right, maybe you just do piggybacks for a while. And then if he's rolling, all right, here's another inning. Here's another inning. That way you totally don't throw him off his routine. And you have a game plan. All right, here's the deal. You're going 3 innings today. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're rolling? Okay, you get an extra one. Oh, you're really rolling. That way it gives you flexibility. But also, against Milwaukee, I don't know how much you're going to want to burn your pen if they were to do something like that. Because Milwaukee, let's face it, they've had our number for years. They are my most hated team in all of sports. And I follow the Big Four. I hate them more than any other team. I want to destroy them every time we play them. But, yeah, no, that's a great idea. And if we weren't on a time crunch, I would probably dive into that a little bit more. But we are coming up on the 25-minute mark. So let's get a word in from our friends at Obvious Shirts, and then we will roll into your calls and the setup sins. But first, our friends at Obvious Shirts.
Setup Nation, I want to take a quick break so that you know how you can support our channel and wear some cool swag like this. We've teamed up with Obvious Shirts to give you a chance to have your very own Setup Man shirt or hat. Pick from 3 different types of shirts or my personal favorite, the trucker hat. Go to the link in the description of this video and podcast to claim your Setup Man apparel. And thank you so much for supporting our channel.
We're just going to blow through the sins. We don't even have a graphic. It was Merriweather giving up only 1 hit and still giving up 2 runs. You know how you did that? You walked. Walk. The same, as I said at the top of the show, same old song and dance.
It changed. Everything changed, Alex, on the 2-2 pitch, on the curveball on the outside that he had on Real Muto. Yep. If that is a half an inch, I'm talking, folks, I mean, if you look at it, it is definitely a ball. But I'm talking if he just makes a slight adjustment, we're talking possibly about a series win here. That's how close it was. I mean, it sucks that it's on the edges like that, but unfortunately, it just led to a crappy result.
I know. I feel like our energy's down. Just like that call specifically, like totally zapped my energy. I was like, oh, I was hoping to do another walk-off show like we did on Tuesday where we were both freaking out. And here we are, like, ugh, another Sunday, another disappointment. So anyway, actually, we got to get that link in the comments.
I'm going to post it now. I just posted it, folks. So as Alex alluded to, folks, if you are joining the show a little bit later than normal or didn't listen to us at the start, we are now posting the link later in the episodes before the third segment. So if you are interested in joining us, please go ahead and click on the link. Both Alex and I posted it twice because that's how much we care. So looking forward to getting to our callers. But yeah, turn back over to you, Alex.
Absolutely. And we have imaging for this segment. So why don't we roll that fancy stuff out?
You suck! On your marks, get set, go!
Time for Thoughts in 30, where you have the opportunity at home to call into the show. Click that link that we just provided you in the comments. And yeah, you can come chat with us. Maybe you have an idea about Ben Brown and how they should use him. I know our first caller on the show here, I know he's going to want to talk some Ben Brown. So hopefully he can keep it contained for just 30 seconds or maybe a minute. But Dave, Ben Brown's your guy. How you feeling?
Look, I know everyone's all pissed off right now because of the way this game ended tonight, but let's face facts. We got through this part of our schedule 17-12 when we were hoping for 500. So the ship ain't sinking. The ship ain't sinking. Now, what I would say on Ben Brown, no, he hasn't looked good, and he's got probably about 3. But what I would do, and I know, Alex, you're not ready to pull this trigger yet, but I would piggyback Ben Brown and Cade Horton.
You know, as I was playing the imaging and stuff, I'm like, that's not a bad idea.
You know, because
both their arms anyway.
Because, you know, you don't want to use up Cade Horton. He's only got so many bullets. He's a young kid. So why not look to get 6 innings out of those 2 guys in a piggyback? And then you've got, you know, your back end 3 and going Hodge and Presley. And I thought Merriweather got in his head as soon as he didn't get that call on that curveball.
I mean, yeah, I don't really have any arguments there because it went from close curveballs to then they were all over the place.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, you guys are talking, one last thing, you guys are talking about the front office, you know, the way the pitching's going. Oh, I have one other thing. The reason we lost this series is because the Phillies did a hell of a job on Kyle Tucker. Kyle went 1 for 13 in the series. And you saw what happened to our offense on Saturday and Sunday. You know, outside of PCA, we didn't have anything, but credit to the Phillies. They went to work on Tucker.
Yeah, no arguments here. Yeah. Dave, we appreciate the call. We're going to keep it rolling. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
All right.
Really quick, Alex, before we bring in the next caller, just wanted to make a point really quick because I was just about to respond to Dave there. But my only fear about the Cade Horton and Ben Brown situation is the issue of both being righties, both being high velo, and relying on their secondary pitch to sort of be what they need. And you're talking about 2 guys right now that, like, for a Ben Brown, it's been a little erratic. You don't know what you're going to get out of Cade Horton. I could see it working, though, if Cade can execute on his other pitches just besides his fastball and his slider, so like his changeup and other pitches. I'm open to any ideas at this point, realistically, because the other options, like we said, Alex, were Jordan Wicks and some of these other names. So that's my only slight issue with that. But again, you got to find something here. So sorry, we'll get it over to the next caller.
No, it was a great right. Point. And Jordan Wicks, I think we haven't mentioned enough. He didn't look great. He looked fine in his couple outings. I'm a little higher on Wicks than most, but let's see what our next caller thinks. Let's go to Eddie. Eddie, welcome back to the program. Oh, we've lost Eddie. Ty, are you still there, or is that my internet?
I'm still here, brother.
Okay.
Eddie is not.
The true setup man fans know that I have internet problems from time to time, so I panicked when I saw the wheel. Okay, he's back. Let's try this again. Eddie, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, you guys called me.
Oh no. Oh, Eddie. Well,
So here's what Eddie was going to say. So Eddie was thinking was, he's walking home, right? And he's really thinking about, oh, there he is.
no,
There he
he's
is.
back.
Should we give him a third time? Should we give him a third time?
I mean, we'll make it work. All right. Can you hear us, Eddie? Are you on
Can you
Earth?
hear us, Eddie?
Eddie's gone. All right.
He's gone. All right,
Eddie,
3
I'm
strikes, you're
sorry.
out, buddy.
If you come back, we'll get to you. But let's go to Jacob now. This is the
Howdy, y'all.
joy of taking calls live. Jacob, friend of the show, you're back. What's going on today, sir?
Had two baseball games myself, and Jesus Christ.
Well, hopefully they went better than the one we just watched. Jacob, we're going to put
Not
30
really.
seconds on the clock. And you are
Well,
on the
first of
clock,
all,
sir.
I want to say it was a great start by JMO today. But I kind of tried to allude to this last week and couldn't make it on Friday to talk about this. I want to briefly talk about Colin Ray. And why I think he's going to continue this run. I mean, maybe not, a 1 ERA, but basically from my own research and piggybacking off of what Lance Brodstowski said in his Substack, basically he's doing two additional things. His four-seamer, number one, has a little more lift, and he's throwing it a lot more to righties, opposed to 14% last year. So that's like 40% right now. And he has a new gyro slider that he's also throwing to righties. And when you look back, part of his issue, not all of it, but part of his issue when he would get hit, it would be hit by righties. Why? Because he just didn't have an effective pitch. So I just want to say that. I think Colin Ray was a great pickup, and I think he's going to continue where he's at right now.
Absolutely, and that price tag doesn't hurt. This is why Setup Man Nation is the best, because they come with their own research. Jacob, we appreciate the info.
Thanks,
we
Jacob.
appreciate the insight. Thank you for calling in, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so Eddie, we lost. He's not back in the room, but I guess we'll save him for another day. So I guess before we get into it, before we end the show, they got Pittsburgh on deck starting Tuesday. Pitchers are not yet announced. Are there any expectations for this series? I'm thinking at least 2-1. I don't know if Skeens is going. They haven't announced anything yet. I think Skeens just pitched on Saturday, so maybe Wednesday?
He pitched Friday. He pitched Friday in LA.
Oh, so we're getting them.
The only possible outcome is him on, I believe that would be Thursday is what I'm guessing. And you know what? At the end of the day, we have to face him at some point. Yeah. And right now we have the most momentum that we've had, despite the last two games, which, hey, these games are going to happen. They have not lost three in a row this year. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how they answer the bell on Tuesday. So could see that, but yeah, I think it's an expectation at this point, Alex, which is a pretty cool thing to say, that they should win every single series against teams that they will see in the next month. And that is a really cool feeling, is that this should be the expectation to win every single series.
Yeah, and let's be honest. Is it really a Cubs-Pirates series if we don't face Paul Skeens once? At this point, it doesn't count then, I don't think.
I think we'll just face him every single game. All jokes aside, it seems like it was that way that last year, but man, hopefully it's not the way this year. So,
oh yeah, we'll probably see him once. But anyway, yeah, kind of a blah weekend, unfortunately. But anyway, you know what's not blah? You, Setup Nation. We appreciate you. Sunday night, still had a full room, still had callers, still had commenters. So thank you very much for participating tonight. Make sure, if you haven't already, hit that like button. That does help us out quite a bit. Hit that subscribe button. That also helps. And also, you get a bunch of cool content. Right now, today's show, you got the middle relievers. The Setup Man himself is on I don't know, he lives in LA, or towards California. I don't know, he's probably on a beach sipping Mai Tais or something. So he's getting a little vacation. But you have the middle relievers here holding down the fort. And yeah, we appreciate all y'all. Ty and I are going to go ice up our arms. We will see you on Tuesday when the Cubs take on the Pirates post-game show. Then also, quick announcement, we have decided it's a show Mother's Day, that's for your moms. We will not have a post-game show Sunday, May 11th. Just want to get that out there, and I'll make sure to keep repeating myself for that. But no show on May 11th. That is Mother's Day. Go buy your mom some flowers instead of watching us. So thank you. Ty and I are going to go ice up. We'll see you on Tuesday night.